Okay. Can you increase your volume? I'm also going to use a headset, which will probably help. 1 second, so I can hear you better. Okay. Oh, there you are. Dr. Kremenberg?
Hi.
Hi. Okay, good. Is there any chance you could increase your volume? I'm just the sound is just very low. Please.
Yeah, let me check that.
Sure. Thank you.
Okay. Let me see. Okay. I have it on the maximum now.
Perfect. Thank you. I think it's better. All right. So, thank you so much for your time and
Sure.
being willing to do that. That means a lot to me. I appreciate it.
Sure.
All right. So I think my challenge is, and I got your answers and I already incorporated it in my notes. So my
Okay.
challenge is that because you help me with the statistics and maybe weren't as familiar with the literature because I contacted you towards the end of my dissertation process, and then the opposite,
Mhm.
my editor, and unfortunately she's not able to join, but I'm recording
Okay.
this, so um, and she's the opposite. She's not very familiar with the statistics, and
Sure.
but she's very familiar with the literature, and
Mhm.
but it's me who has to defend it and sound comfortable with it and sound like I really own it. And
Right.
so let's do our best. So I'm just gonna go over everything,
Mhm.
and and if you don't know the answer and need a moment, or if you don't know it, it's totally fine. I'm going
Sure.
to talk to her later on today, and so hopefully what you don't we don't cover, she'll cover, and vice versa. So
Sure.
if do you have the manuscript and the notes in front of you? That may help.
Oh yeah, I have those open.
Okay, perfect. All right, so so basically, okay, so the problem, how attachment style
Mhm.
moderates the relationship between strength of the human animal bond and levels of the stress. I think it's clear.
Mhm.
The attachment style is measured by avoidance and anxiety in a convenient sample of pet owners. So that convenient sample that's what all researchers do for their dissertations, right? This just means that
Right.
every that it's usually the subjects are between 18 and 80, so I don't get to choose that, right? It's
Mhm.
just is that what's part of the convenience sample?
Right. Yeah, basically that the sample wasn't selected randomly. They were selected basically just based on convenience, um, using an easier method of selecting respondents.
Okay, using an easier method, which is
Mhm.
usually okay, three standards. Okay, and is always between 18 and 80 years old.
Right.
It's always like that, 18 and 80 years old. Okay. In the States, usually, okay, if the, okay, all right. So, okay, so the attachment styles are those four,
Mhm.
and the do you want me to actually, you know what? Let me just share the screen. 1 second,
Sure.
just so that it records better because it's on GoToMeeting. Um, okay, so So attachment as dimensional, like you said, is basically just means that it's just means this it's one aspect. Is that what also applies to this particular attachment style? Why they call it dimensional attachment as
Um,
dimensional, although it's four different styles, but it is.
hmm. Here I would say, I mean, dimensional um, being related to the idea of different uh, themes or scales. So, um, for example, um, something might be measured as a number of different dimensions, or you might have like intelligence could be measured as a number of different dimensions, or you have a quantitative dimension and a verbal dimension and so forth, like that type of concept.
Who knows? I don't even know. Could it mean that it's one dimension at a time? Being each style being one dimension, so four dimensions. I mean, later on, they measure it as with that by the two-dimension continuum
Okay.
for
Yeah.
anxiety and avoidance.
Right.
Obviously, two dimensions, right?
Sure.
Could
Hmm.
could could that be an explanation if they ask me one
Yeah. I
dimension?
mean, that's what I would discuss in the sense of that measure being dimensional.
Hmm. Dimensional. Okay. All right. Let's just go with it. Then, um, and you probably came across attachments with other dissertations, I'm sure, right? It's pretty,
Um,
maybe not.
Sorry, I missed that.
Did you come across attachment with other
Oh,
dissertations or not? It's okay if you did.
yeah. I mean, not specifically in terms of pets, but I have used that in other psychological studies before.
Hmm. Okay, good.
Hmm.
So, and right now it's literature, so I don't, so this is a little
Hmm.
outside your realm, but I'm just going over it just in case, so it can help
Sure.
later on when we interpret the results.
Yeah.
Separation, distress, and proximity maintenance are attachment elements
Hmm.
and are basically considered caregiving behaviors.
Hmm.
And the other two, safe haven uh, and secure base, are attachment behaviors. They're still behaviors, but attachment, which I don't even understand. I don't understand why they're categorized that way, but they are.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Then
Hmm.
the attachment styles are enacted from internal working models of attachment. If I just
Yeah.
explain it like that, in your opinion, should be okay, right? I don't need to change the words.
Um, yeah, I think that's fine.
Okay. What would be? Does that have any statistical significance? Internal working models?
Um,
Probably not.
no, I mean, not really. I mean, I wouldn't really call that a statistical term.
Hmm. Okay. Now, the let's go down to the research questions and hypotheses. So,
Hmm.
the first three
Hmm.
is all about how stress associates with something else.
Yeah.
And then the last one is, summarizes, which is what this whole dissertation is all about. If
Hmm.
attachment style moderates the relationship between the other two, the bond and the stress.
Right.
So let's keep, so, and sorry if my question sounds dumb, but
Sure. No problem.
so in my presentation, I don't I don't have to explain what the null hypothesis and the alternative hypothesis is for question one. Isn't that understood?
Uh, yeah, I think just presenting the research question should be fine.
Okay. So between me and you, null hypothesis. Can you explain it to me in like, for instance, in just regular terms, just between me and you to understand? If the question one
Sure.
is stress associated with the bond, then the null hypothesis means it means that it's not associated, right? Not associated.
Right. Yeah.
Not associated. Okay. And so same thing for the other two. And then
Sure.
the null hypothesis for Q4, it means that the attachment style does not moderate the other relationship. Is that correct?
Right.
Okay. So let me write it down. Okay. So then the alternative hypothesis for Q1, for instance, would be there is an effect. There is an effect. Okay. Okay, I see what you're saying.
Right.
Okay. Okay. So it is confirming the association
Right.
in this case, and then for Q4 is confirming the moderation.
Right.
Okay. All right. Now, nature and significance. Okay, I think that's fine. All right. So in the literature's got three areas. One is attachment theory, and then again, this is. Do you see where my cursor is? My mouse.
Yes.
Okay. So that's where. So adult attachment, which is measured. Dimensional measurement. Okay, so it's two-dimensional because it measures anxiety and avoidance. Is that why? Because it's two, anxiety and avoidance is two elements.
Right.
You said that's another way to say scale. Okay. Okay.
Sure.
Yeah, that's what you said. Okay, so basically, dimensional continuum is just a scale, so that's correct.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, let's go to the methodology, please.
Sure.
And so this design is a quantitative, correlative, and cross-sectional.
Right. Yeah.
It's all three.
Mm-hmm.
I should just present it like that. It's a quantitative, correlative, and cross-sectional.
Sure. That's accurate.
Okay. All right. So,
Are you comfortable with what all of those terms mean?
actually, let's go over it. Good point, just in case they drill me on it.
Sure.
So, quantitative versus qualitative means that, okay, I'll let you explain it. Can you explain it in simple terms, please?
Sure. Yeah. So essentially, quantitative just means dealing with numbers, numerical data, whereas qualitative would be dealing with textual data like interviews, surveys, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So correlative just means that you're looking at the correlations, you're looking at the relationships between variables. You're not looking at causality. You're not trying to determine if one thing causes some other thing.
Mm-hmm.
And And then cross-sectional means that you're administering the survey to a set of individuals, set of respondents at one particular point in time.
Sorry, can you repeat the last part? Cross-sectional
Sure.
means?
Yeah, so cross-sectional means that you're collecting data on a certain set of individuals at one particular point in time.
Okay, collecting data at a particular point in time.
Yeah.
Point meaning just particular time. Or,
Right.
or place. Place.
Um,
Point meaning place.
Basically, that is, you administer the survey to your sample just once.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
for example, you have a cross-sectional methodology. If you had a panel methodology, with panel data, you survey the same group of people repeatedly.
Mm-hmm.
Or so if like exam data from a school where you have multiple exams, it's the same sample, but you have multiple data points, that'd be panel data. That'd be different from what you're doing.
Okay. Panel data means repeatedly.
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
Oh boy, they want to see me on video for that defense. I'm
Oh,
still gonna look at my notes.
right.
And I have to share the screen for the defense, so I may have
Oh.
multiple screens, but
Mhm.
that should be okay, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's okay to say in the procedure, for instance, I think the chair said it's fine. I distributed an
Oh.
online survey. I conducted an a priori power analysis. It's okay to say that, right?
Yeah, if they say it's fine, I would go with that. I mean, uh, for the dissertation, for example, I would probably put the researcher instead of I.
Yeah, that's already been approved, so
Oh,
it's accepted,
yeah.
so they have it. So this is just for the
Okay.
final defense. So
Sure.
I think you'll sound less informal, maybe
Hmm.
better. Even for me to
Sure.
say it, then you sound more natural.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. So the a priori power analysis, you said, is conducted to determine the total sample size.
Mm.
But in this case, with my variables, is there anything else we can say more specific to my study?
Let me think. I think what you have following that, is a good response, a good thing to elaborate on. So you mentioned that it was done for multiple linear regression, and you had three predictors in the power analysis. And I think the next page you mentioned the alpha level of 0.05. So those kinds of those details I think would be good to discuss also.
Okay, but why did I choose a prior power analysis?
So that's conducted. So basically, like in the response here, so when you're starting a study, you don't know how many people that you need, and basically the purpose of the analysis is you don't want there to be significance in the data, but then you don't find significance in the analysis, and that's a possibility. Well, it's always a possibility, but the possibility is a lot higher if you don't have a large enough sample. So the purpose of the power analysis is to determine how many people do you actually need to have an acceptable level of power, so you don't, to try and ensure that you don't make that mistake where there's significance in the data, but then you don't find significance in the analysis.
Hmm. Hmm. Although they, I had to say how many subjects I was going to use before I was able to run the experiment. So I had to
Right.
say, I think it said at least 76, and then
Hmm.
right, and then we used 300.
Right, yeah.
and they accepted that. So then I was
Okay.
able to run it with SurveyMonkey. Is that still good?
Sure, that's
If
fine,
they
yeah.
question me about it?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, basically, since you had a greater number of respondents than was required in the power analysis, so your survey, basically you had higher power than the minimum that you specified, so that's a good thing.
Minimum is always 76?
Well, I think in this particular power analysis, uh, it recommended a minimum of 76 respondents, but the minimum statistical power, I believe, was 0.80 in this analysis.
Okay, but what's the minimum amount of subjects?
So yeah, that I think was 76.
But is it always 76? Just for me to understand.
Oh no, I mean, it could be anything from 20 or 30 to thousands. It depends on
Hmm.
a lot of different factors.
Okay.
Mhm.
So, okay, that's fine. Um, and and what if, do you think they may ask me what factors it may depend on?
Um, it's a possibility. I mean, basically, with if you want a higher power, that
Hmm.
requires a greater number of respondents.
Hmm. Okay.
And also, if you have a smaller effect size, also you need more respondents.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. So I conducted a priori power analysis for multiple linear regression analysis
Mhm.
with three predictors. Are my three predictors my three variables?
Right.
Okay. So, and could the so are
Mhm.
the priori power analysis sometimes are not multiple linear regressions, right?
Right.
Okay, so I chose multiple linear regression because I had three predictors. Is that why?
Well, basically, because that was the proposed analysis, was the linear regression with three predictors. So then you basically just select the same test and the same number of predictors for the power analysis.
Okay, but what if they ask me why I chose that? Why I chose this sample methodology? For this particular study?
Hmm. You mean why you chose regression?
Multiple linear regression.
Yeah. Well, I mean, basically, it makes sense. If your outcome is continuous, and then you have more than one predictor, multiple linear regression is an appropriate choice.
Okay, so multiple has nothing to do with the number of predictors, or it does?
Well, yeah, multiple would mean that you have two or more predictors.
Okay, okay. Okay, that means, okay, so it is all related to the predictors.
Right, yeah.
Okay, write it down in a way I'll remember.
Hmm.
Okay, so um, minimum sample size of 76. I found a minimum sample size of 76, but then in the end I used 300, right?
Right.
Okay, when using an effect size of 0.15 and P is the alpha level, right?
Yeah, so in discussing that, I wouldn't, technically, that should be referred to as the alpha level and not p, because p is the actual calculated significance. So
Mm-hmm.
here I would say, using an effect size of 0.15 and an alpha level of 0.05.
Oh, okay. Got it. Okay.
Sure.
Of zero point 0.5. Um, okay, and the effect size again is related to the power analysis you were saying, correct?
Hmm. Right. So here the effect size of 0.15, that's a moderate effect size. So basically we're saying in the power analysis, we expect, a medium effect size. It won't be really strong or really weak. Um, and that's where the 76, is based on that plus all the other specifications.
Moderate or medium, same thing. That's what we expect with the
Yeah.
power analysis. Okay,
Right.
okay. Do you have to do a lot of these things with students or is it just me?
Oh no, it's
Panic
it's
before.
common.
Okay.
Sure.
Medium. Okay. So the effect size is what determines the significance, correct?
Well, the effect size
No.
relates to the sample size that you get out of the power analysis. So the 76,
Mm-hmm.
that depends on the effect size.
Okay. All right. Okay. Think I got that. And the alpha level,
Hmm.
in this case, is there anything I need to say specifically for this study?
Um, Not really. I mean, 0.05 is really the standard in statistics. So you could say something like to that effect. Um, that is just, most commonly used as the standard for statistical significance.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So
Hmm.
let's go to the data analysis, please.
Hmm.
Regression tests. So again, I use regression because that's what's proposed and because it makes the most sense with the power analysis, right?
Right.
Okay. And so the regression analysis or test, it's conducted to test the null hypothesis, correct?
Right.
Okay. And then I conducted a hierarchical multiple regressions. That's the same thing as we said before.
Um,
No,
well, multiple linear regression,
no, it's not.
basically hierarchical multiple regression, um, that is a number of linear regressions.
Mm-hmm.
So, um, kind of like what I mentioned there, just nested regression models. So basically, it's a bunch of different multiple linear regression models.
Okay, and I did four. I did four, right?
E, I believe so. I would need to kind of check. It's been a while since I looked at the results.
Would they ask me such a thing?
I mean, it's possible. I would, it'd be good to be ready just in case.
Mm-hmm. Can you check how many? Will you run,
Yeah.
please?
Are you still there?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I thought you were checking on the number of regressions.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I could look. Um, so just based on taking a look through the results chapter,
Mm-hmm.
so this was two regressions, two models.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's it? Okay.
Yeah, there were two models, and there were um, two hierarchical regressions. So two separate hierarchical regressions. Actually, let's see. Actually, there were four hierarchical regression models in total, and then each hierarchical regression had two separate models.
Okay, so um, hierarchical regression and models means is the same thing.
Um, well, you have um, basically within the hierarchical regression, you have separate regressions.
Mm-hmm.
So basically,
Okay.
you have the four hierarchical models, and then within each one, there's two separate regression models.
So four of two.
Yeah,
Four of two. Four sets of two. Four sets of two.
right. Yeah,
And they're called models, regression models. Okay.
right.
Two models.
See, like regression models or regression analyses.
Okay. Um, okay. Thank you. It's amazing that uh, they never found out that, remember, we missed to insert one question in the Survey Monkey survey.
Oh, right, yeah.
They didn't even, well, I mean, I'm grateful. But between me and you, do you think that skewed the results or not?
I mean, I think, it's not ideal, but I think it's really minor. So I wouldn't really worry
Mm-hmm,
about that. I think, it might have changed things, but I think it'd be very minimal.
mm-hmm. Okay, good. So I met the statistical assumptions, I can say that.
Right.
And then linear relationships, normal distribution, I don't even know how to pronounce it, homoscedasticity, and
Y Yeah, homoscedasticity.
okay,
Yeah.
homoscedasticity.
Yeah.
And independence of residuals, low multicollinearity. Do I need to say this
Right.
stuff? I probably should.
Uh, yeah, I think it'd be good just to kind of, briefly cover. I mean, you could say kind of generally that the assumptions were not violated in the regression models instead of having to go through all of those terms.
Hmm. In the regression models, okay.
Hmm.
And then I don't
Yeah.
have to say that stuff, linear,
Right.
only if they
Yeah.
ask me.
Sure.
Let me put it parentheses. But in case they ask, okay, just in case, hopefully,
Sure.
in case they ask, um,
Hmm.
those are those are analyses we ran supposedly.
Right.
The linear relations, normal distribution, homoscedasticity, and dependence. Those are analyses.
Yeah, those are basically diagnostics.
Okay, that you ran to meet the assumptions.
Right. Should have the output here somewhere too. Yeah, so I have that in the output also, the results of those tests.
Are you talking about in the dissertation manuscript?
No, this would be in the output from the statistical software.
Mm. So, okay, but that's what was included, what you included in the manuscript, in the dissertation.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was, the fact that the assumptions were not violated. I think we had discussed that in the manuscript. I mean, I didn't present all of the actual figures, and I mean, it'd be kind of a lot.
Hmm.
But I mean, I have a copy of the results in case they're needed at some point or something.
But they would have already
But
asked. Okay, okay.
okay,
They were already asked. They already accepted it. So,
yeah.
but just in case they ask me, I'll say I did not present. What did you say? All of.
The diagnostics.
Okay. In the
So,
DM.
like for example, it could have been added, but it probably would have been about 30 pages, and it's not very useful stuff. I mean, as long as they know everything, that nothing was violated, that's really the main uh, kind of the key element there.
Hmm. Okay. And not violating means, or meeting, just in case, in
Uh,
simple terms for me to understand, means that.
right. So not violated means that the assumption was not violated. So, for example, one of the assumptions is low multicollinearity. So not violated means that that was the case. It was upheld, the assumption.
Okay. I
Mhm.
still don't know what that means. Do you really think that they're gonna ask me that?
Probably not. I mean, the assumptions would take some time to really go through all of them, but like multicollinearity, for example, you have multicollinearity if you have a high correlation between your predictors. And
Among
so
predictors.
essentially the fact that,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, since that assumption wasn't violated, that just means that you didn't have that problem, high correlation, among the predictors.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. Which would be a problem in a study.
Yeah, that's one of the assumptions of regression. So if that was violated, it would indicate that something would need to be changed in the models.
Mm-hmm. Okay. 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 So the Cronbach alpha is the measure for internal consistency reliability.
Right.
Okay. And it's just a standard measure.
Sure.
Standard.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. To standard. What's the word? Way of describing internal consistency. Okay.
Right.
Okay. So okay. And what's above acceptable? What's is it 0.70 or is 0.70 is means of accept is standard for acceptable level of internal consistency.
Right. Yeah. 0.70 or above.
Okay. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. That's good. Which means internal reliability of the actual measures, right? Of the scale.
Right.
Of the scale.
Uh-huh.
Okay. And consistency reliability just means that they are reliable.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, basically that all the items of the scale are related to each other to an acceptable degree. Essentially, you wouldn't want to scale with um, a scale on a certain topic where all the items don't correlate, because then it's not really a scale.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a set of items.
Okay. Okay.
Mm.
Thank you. All right.
Sure.
So the findings. Okay. So
Mm.
when we say that the null hypothesis, let me try to figure it out myself before you
Mm-hmm.
tell me. The null hypothesis was rejected for
Mm-hmm.
research question one, which was basically stress associated
Mm-hmm.
was associated with the bond. So that means the null hypothesis would have mean that it's not associated. So it's been
Right.
rejected. So it means it's been
Mm-hmm.
associated, that it is associated.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. So that means there is an association.
Mm-hmm.
Did I really get it right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
So, and then the okay. So so the null hypothesis for this would have been that there is not significant that there is not um,
Mm-hmm.
association between stress and anxiety. So it's been
Mm-hmm.
accepted. So means there is not association. There is not an association. There is not an association. Is that correct?
Right.
Are you sure?
I'm just going to read through that first.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, right, that's correct. And yeah, I would use the wording that you have in the parentheses where you say failed to be rejected.
Uh-huh.
Um, that's more kind of an appropriate way to say that than to say accepted.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you told me that. So maybe it's gonna make
Okay.
me sound really knowledgeable about it, even if I'm
Sure.
not, because I find it weird that they accepted it like that in the dissertation manuscript. But anyway,
Oh, okay.
but I will say that. I will say that because it sounds very good.
Sure.
Okay, the research question 3, it was all about association between stress and avoidance. So the null hypothesis would have said that there is not an association, and because it's being rejected means that there is an association, right?
Right. Yeah.
How come?
Hmm.
What did I say? That there is an association. Okay,
Right.
there is an association, like I said, for research question 1. Okay,
Hmm.
okay, that makes sense. Perfect. Now, question 4. Question 4.
Hmm.
That there is, okay, null hypothesis would say that there is not a moderation and it's been rejected, so there is a moderation, correct?
Right. Yeah.
You sure?
Yeah. I mean, I would just maybe just to be sure to go back and check the results chapter, but just to make sure that all of this is correct.
Can we do it now, please?
Yeah. Sure.
I'll let you check.
Sure. Okay. So the first hypothesis, the null hypothesis was rejected. Second hypothesis, the null hypothesis was not rejected. For the third, the null hypothesis was rejected.
Mhm.
And for the fourth hypothesis, the null hypothesis was also rejected.
Which means that there is a moderation.
Right, yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So, perfect. So then I found significant effects for strength of the bond on stress.
Mhm.
Okay, so I found significant effects of bond of the bond. I found significant effects of the bond. That
Mhm.
really, what does that really mean? It means that that the bond, which is my my variable, my one of my independent variable.
Mhm.
What does that mean then? I found significant effects for this independent variable.
Yeah, I'm gonna just check the results section again.
Yeah.
Um, so, so basically, the your predictor is strength of the bond, and the outcome is pet owner stress. And since there's significant moderation, that means that let me just read this real quick. So, the relationship between the strength of the bond and pet owner stress, uh, it varies based on the level of anxiety and avoidance. So that's the moderating effect there.
Can you repeat that, please?
Yeah. So the relationship between the strength of the bond and pet owner stress depends on the level of anxiety and avoidance.
Hmm.
Mhm.
That's
And
what
that's the moderate.
that's the result.
Right.
Okay.
And that's the moderation.
Okay. Okay. So the moderation, there is a moderation. Yeah, that's what we said. Okay.
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay. Okay. All right. In the discussion
Mhm.
for Q1, I found an effect from the bond in two regression analysis. So that's again
Mhm.
the methodology I used, right? The two
Right.
regression. It was one of those sets, one of those sets that we talked
Right.
about. Okay. So right below page 10, where I said
Mhm.
both models found significant impact of strength of the bond on stress. So can
Mhm.
I say, how can I say it in the present tense? I found, can I say,
Yeah.
what can I say? I found,
You could say I found strength of the bond to have a significant impact on perceived stress.
significant effect, you said?
Yeah. You could say significant effect or impact on perceived stress.
Okay, but then what are the two models that were we talking about? The two models are the regressions. Through I found that
Right.
through the models, the true
Right.
okay, through okay,
Mhm.
the two regression models. Okay. Do you really like statistics? I found that like Arab. I'm even impressed. I
Yeah, I mean, it would have kind of appeals to people that are kind of into math in general, computers. So yeah.
okay. It's amazing that they give you the statistics course they make you take during the
Mhm.
PhD is nothing compared to
Oh,
this stuff. Somehow
oh yeah.
I didn't even get any tutoring and I passed it no problem. It's very
Oh
intuitive,
yeah.
but this is not intuitive by any stretch.
Mhm. Yeah.
But anyway, thank you. I'm glad you're here.
Sure.
Um, okay, so Q4 here in the discussion.
Mhm.
So the fourth hypothesis posited a moderating effect on the relationship. Okay, significant moderation on the bond and stress by both anxiety were shown. Instead of saying shown, how can I say it in the present tense? Um,
Uh-huh. Um,
I found, let's say,
yeah.
with the I found,
Yeah. Sure.
can I say,
Significant moderation. Yeah.
I can say that, okay.
Sure.
Again, through, I found that through what? Through the regression,
Right.
the sets of regression.
Yeah, you could say through the regression models.
But they were, between me and you, they were sets, right? Sets. They were sets.
Right. Yeah. Hmm.
Okay, so okay.
So here I would just I would say set of regression models because basically it's for the fourth question there was one set of two
Mm-hmm.
models.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. So I did that. Da, da, da. Okay. So for instrumentation and the moderating variable of the bond, right? The strength of the bond. Validity and reliability. So here we're talking about the actual measure, right? The measure, the variable, the scale, the measure.
Hmm.
Okay. So okay, how can I say in the present tense here that, uh, or maybe I cannot say it in the present tense here, because this measure, the OPRQ, was shown to
Right.
measure. What can I say? I found.
Yeah. And
Uh,
then delete shown, delete was shown. I think that should work.
okay, I found the OPRQ to measure appropriately. Blah blah blah. True factor analysis, which you told
Hmm.
me it's a statistical method used with scale measures.
Hmm.
Okay, in case they ask, but
Hmm.
um, is there a simpler way to say it if they ask me what a factor analysis is?
Yeah, I mean, basically what you're doing in a factor analysis is you start with a large set of items and you're trying to reduce that large set of items to a smaller number of factors.
And I reduce it by or with
Yeah, with basically with factor analysis to a smaller number of factors.
to a smaller number of factors.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, okay. So right below, here I think I have to leave the past tense, because in a use of the
Hmm.
measure, this was somebody else. So
Okay,
strange.
right.
The one that
Yeah,
was seen. So they saw it, not me.
sure.
Uh, okay. All right. Right below. So this is the other measure that I used.
Hmm.
Um, to so I used the PAQ to as a scale to test anxiety and avoidance, and the validity and reliability for that measure was, if I understand correctly, was
Hmm.
done by this lady, the Zil Chamano, who took each subscale
Hmm.
6 months apart and found, and pet anxiety was found to have a test retest reliability. That's because
Hmm.
she tested it twice, right?
Right, yeah.
Okay. And the
Hmm.
coefficient equaling 75.
Hmm.
What does that mean? That the coefficient equal 75.75.
So that's similar to Cronbach's alpha.
Mm-hmm. It's the has to be minimum 75 or above to be
Um,
considered reliable.
well, with Cronbach's alpha, it's 0.70.
Mm-hmm.
For retest reliability, I would need to look that up just to be sure. But it's a similar type of measure and a similar scale that's used.
to show validity and reliability.
Reliability, yeah.
Just reliability or both?
This really just tests reliability.
What
If the two measures are the same.
what two measures? Validity and reliability? What are
The
we talking about?
two the two administrations of the test.
Mm-hmm. Ah, okay. So it's
Hmm.
reliability. Reliability.
Right.
Okay. 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 Got it.
Hmm. Okay.
So for the dependent variable stress, I use PSS.
Uh-huh.
So when I say higher scores indicate a greater degree of this measure construct, the construct is the stress, right?
Right.
Sorry for the dumb questions.
No.
I feel like in kindergarten. Okay, so now below in the conclusions,
Yeah.
Zilciamano established orthogonal nature of variables. What does that mean?
So that relates to the extent to which the variables are correlated or not, and it also relates to factor analysis. So orthogonal means that they're independent, that they're not related.
They're not related.
Right.
What the variables are not related.
Yeah, they're not related to each other.
What a funny name to say that
Yeah.
because really means
Sure.
something else in geometry, right?
Right.
Okay, let's just go with that. Extent to which variables are correlated and related to factor analysis. Orthogonal means that the variables are not related to one another.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay, so here, also in my study, anxious and avoidant attachments as distinct variables are supported. Uh,
Mm-hmm. Okay.
what does that mean?
So basically, the results indicated that they are separate variables, that they're orthogonal.
Mm-hmm. Are as, okay, separate.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so,
Right.
which, or orthogonal, same thing.
Sure.
Are supported. How can I say it in the present tense? In my
Um,
study,
you could say like I found anxious and avoidant
attachment,
measures to be
distinct, separate variables.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay, so in the limitations, we already talked about the convenience sample, which is standard. So generalizability is what happened here? And external validity.
Like limited, you
So
could say.
so it's okay. So are limited.
Mm-hmm.
What did I say?
So you could say,
Are limited.
generalizability is limited.
Okay.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
I fell asleep on this stuff last night, so some
Oh
errors.
yeah.
I find it so boring. Um, so, okay, so because of the convenience sample. Okay. Okay, we already talked about that. Okay. Okay, so now, what do you think that the graph can do we need a graph or not? I mean, I'm trying to impress them, so they ask me less questions. I notice with the people they are
Right.
impressed, they leave them off the hook faster.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think for your analyses, we probably wouldn't need one. Let me just take a quick look through the result
And
section.
while you do that, I'll be right back. Okay, I'll be right back. Sorry. Let me see.
Oh yeah, sure.
So, okay, I'm back. I had to feed my cat, who's 17
Oh sure.
years old,
Oh wow.
years young, and my dog, who's much younger, are the inspiration for this study.
Oh, interesting.
So the graph, do you think is necessary? And maybe if we include it, what would that be for? So they are impressed.
Right. So I was just taking a look through the results section
Hmm.
and the results chapter, and I mean, based on the analyses that we have, I don't think it's it might be a little difficult to come up with an appropriate graph.
Hmm.
So I mean, I think how we have it currently would be fine. Um, it might be hard to come up with a graph that would really be appropriate to the analyses.
Hmm. Could it be a graph of the results, just like that? More like, I don't know. I don't know if that's possible.
Um, I mean, having a graph of the regression coefficients, I mean, it's not impossible. I haven't really seen it
Hmm.
in studies, and I think it might, create,
More problem.
kind of raise more questions, yeah, than
Hmm. Okay. You saw my PowerPoint, right? Yeah.
yeah.
It
I have that open
doesn't.
here.
Can you maybe take a quick look and see if it will change anything, if it does look impressive or not?
Sure. Like the pictures.
Thank you.
Yeah. Uh, Yeah, I would just on slide 27, I would change for the power analysis instead of p equals zero point zero 0.05, just alpha of zero point zero 0.05, just like we mentioned before.
Can you change it? I don't even know how.
Oh, yeah.
I don't even know how to like write it out, or I know you had it,
Okay. Yeah, I
but I
made a
noticed
change.
that you had a different character in your answers last night. It looked like I don't even have that on my keyboard. I don't know where.
Oh, maybe it was the alpha symbol.
Yeah, could you
Mm.
put that? Would that be more impressive?
Um, yeah, it's, let me pull that up. Mm, for this slide, I would, 29, I would just kind of, it's a little redundant, I think, so I would just remove that line. Um, kind of make this change. On 31, I'm just changing accepted to not rejected.
Okay.
So I would, for the effective moderation, I would reword this a little. So I would say significant moderation of anxiety and avoidance on the relationship between uh, strength of bond and so strength of HAB is the same as strength of bond.
Correct. Human
Okay.
animal bond. Yeah.
Okay. And then the outcome. Oh, so pet owner stress.
And we can just put stress. They know it's the pet owner,
Oh,
not the animal stress.
sure. Yeah, similarly, in the discussion, I would change that a little.
How do you like that table? I did that.
Oh yes, good. Hmm. And I would just make a small change there, and I would just use the same, wording for that part.
Okay. So this is the same thing written out that was in that table. Is that
Hmm.
redundant? Or
No, I think this is okay. It goes into a little more detail. It's good.
when did you get your PhD?
2009.
Very nice.
Hmm.
How long did it take you?
Well, after the master's, it took me 3 years, but that was kind of unusual. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I think the average for my department was 5 years.
Mhm.
Here, I just add the determination of causality.
Where are you? Ah, there. Okay.
44. So yeah, basically, I just added a few words. So the use of panel data would allow the determination of causality, just being able to more or less prove or disprove causality between measures. And yeah, it looks good. I mean, just I made a few, number of small changes, but
What would you
I
say?
think it looks.
Do I need to change it here? The use of panel data would allow the.
No, I added a few words there.
Ah, you did it. Okay, already.
Yeah, sure. Um, but yeah, it looks good. I mean,
Okay,
the presentation overall.
okay. So you would not add a graph to this.
No, I think this is good.
Okay. All right. So I still have some more questions. Okay. Bear with me.
Sure.
So I'm
Yeah.
gonna delete. So since okay. So we did. So okay. So I heard they ask a question. Were you um were you expecting different results based on the literature?
Hmm.
I mean, to be honest, between me and you, when I was reading some of those results on SurveyMonkey, it's
Hmm.
to me some of the owners. But I just want to say enough so that I sound like
Hmm.
I know what I'm saying, but I don't want to open cans of worms that they may
Right.
throw me. So I just want to give a intelligent but short answer.
Sure.
So between me and you, though, I mean, some of those answers seem like the respondents were not really very attached to the
Hmm.
pets. They sounded like they almost like see animals as second grade, and I don't, but I know a lot of people unfortunately do, and to me
Hmm.
that was reflected by the answers. I don't know if
Okay.
I should say that or not. Probably not.
In terms of the answers to the survey data.
Yeah, so if they ask me, were you expecting
Oh,
different results? Yeah, based on the
right.
literature, the different
Hmm.
results from that you got than what
Right.
you got.
Um, it's just been a while since I looked at the literature, but let me see. I mean, I would say generally. I mean, of course, you're more familiar with the literature than me, but just based on the fact that you did have three of the four hypotheses supported. So, with that being the case, I think that generally what you found was um, supportive of the literature. I mean, I would you know make sure that's correct, but I think that would be the case.
And okay, so basically, between you and me, and I'll ask the same questions
Yeah.
to the editor, but
Uh,
did I find anything new? Did this study find anything new?
I think so. I mean, again, like I uh, I would go through the lit review again just to be sure,
Hmm.
but as long as the hypotheses that you proposed were new, then that would be correct.
Okay. Okay. Well, they must have been new if they accepted the dissertation.
Sure.
I mean, but who knows? Maybe not. um, let's see. So, what if they ask me why did you choose this study topic? I mean,
Hmm.
well, is well, it is because it's of interest to me, and then in reading the literature, we found that gap. Um,
Hmm.
is that sufficient enough to say? Or
Right.
if they ask me why is it important,
Hmm.
why the topic is important, or why this particular topic is important.
Right. The I would, there's some good material in the first chapter of your dissertation, um, where you kind of discuss, the fact that it hasn't really been studied, and like statement of the problem, you discuss, examining stress in association with the pet and pet ownership relationship is important in relation to psychological well-being in pet owners. So I would use, the material from that chapter
Hmm.
to maybe make like a little outline, bullet points. Um, and that's a pretty common question, so I'd be prepared
Hmm.
uh, to have a number of points to bring up.
Hmm. Okay. All right.
Hmm.
So, what did you find, or what your findings really mean? So,
Hmm.
okay. So I started the attachment style.
Right,
I studied strength of the bond and
right,
the stress. So attachment style, bond, strength of the bond, and stress. So there is a moderation. Attachment style does moderate, right? We found that
hmm,
moderate the relationship
yeah,
between bond and stress.
sure,
Okay, and what else I found? I found that in simple terms, they're gonna want to make sure I really understand.
yeah,
Came out in simple terms. So what depends on what? What is related to what?
hmm,
Can you?
yeah. I mean, I think if you phrase that in terms of your research questions or your hypotheses,
Hmm.
that would be a good way to kind of summarize what you found in your study.
Hmm. Okay, which is which is that. Can we go over it really quick? So,
Yeah. So let me
please.
just, okay. So the research questions, so, pet owners perceive stress is associated with strength of the human-animal bond. That was the first question. And the second one wasn't supported. And the third, perceived stress is associated with attachment avoidance.
Stress is associated with avoidance. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So what's not associated again?
So the second one, stress and attachment anxiety.
Mm-hmm. Is not associated.
Right, I'm just going to check that too to make sure. So, um, okay. Right, that's correct. And then the fourth one was the moderation one, and just looking that up. Um, okay, so the fourth one, so attachment style moderates the relationship between HAB and stress reduction.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So everything is positive except stress is not associated with anxiety.
Right,
Everything else is associated and moderated.
right.
Okay, so if they ask me, which they've asked in other defenses, what does that mean in practical life? So stress is
Mm-hmm.
associated with the bond. That means, does that mean that? What does that mean? If you are attached to your pet in a secure way, you're gonna have less
Mm-hmm.
stress. If correct?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Secure attachment, low stress. Then stress is not associated with anxiety. That means even if you have an anxious attachment style with your pet, is not going to affect your stress level.
Right. Yeah.
And stress is associated with avoidance.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean? Does that mean that if you attach with an avoidant style, insecure
Mm-hmm.
avoidance style to your pet,
Right.
you're still going to have lower stress because obviously you're avoiding the whole thing.
Let me check the results of the analysis there. Um, okay. Okay, so avoidance. Right, so that analysis found so higher avoidance was associated with higher stress.
Okay. High avoidance, high stress. So
Mm-hmm.
positive correlation.
Right.
Okay. Okay, and the fact that the attachment style does moderate the relationship, that means in practical terms that the way you attach to your animal has an effect on the relationship between your stress level and how strong is your attachment.
Yeah, and in the results chapter, what I'm also seeing is that so the effect of strength of the bond on stress, that relationship, that correlation increases with higher levels of anxiety and avoidance.
With either one, high
Right.
avoidance or high anxiety.
Right.
Okay. All right. So if they ask me again to what that means in a nutshell, what does that mean in a dummy version? Just repeat the same thing, this whole thing.
Sure.
Okay. So could there be an option to do this study qualitatively? No.
Well, not in the sense of, you wouldn't be able to test your hypotheses with qualitative research. So that'd be the main negative, is that, qualitative analysis doesn't support hypothesis testing.
Okay. So, and if they ask me, how could you do a qualitative test in the future based on these results? Is there such a thing?
I mean, it'd be a very, very different study. So, I mean, you could explore these topics with qualitative research, but you couldn't do hypothesis testing, so it wouldn't really work well as an extension of your study.
Okay. Let me make sure I go over all the questions. And we cover that in the recommendations, right?
Yeah. Right. Sure.
Okay. So if they ask me what was my experience with this whole dissertation, I mean, I should be politically correct and just say, in reality, I hated it, but
yeah,
I should just say, stay positive and say I found it challenging, but
sure.
I love the topic and whatever.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if they ask me if I want to conduct more studies in the future, in reality, I don't. But should I just say that I'm interested to just sound good?
Yeah, I would, say that definitely.
That I'm interested in doing more studies.
Right. Yeah.
In a while, after I take a break.
Sure. What they want to hear. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and yeah. So, and I mean, in reality, I I have a very thriving business, and it does deal with sort of business coaching, organizational psychology. And I work with corporations, and I don't know if they Google me or they know that. I doubt it, but if I just say, because it's completely different than academia, and I even have a book that's a #1 bestseller in on Amazon, and it's all
Really?
about, yeah. This is completely different process. The way it's written, it's definitely not scientific. It's just for the mainstream,
Oh,
and I don't think they'll
sure.
appreciate it. But if they ask me how I'm going to incorporate these findings in my life and in my
Hmm.
work, I mean, I just don't want to throw it in their face. I don't think they will appreciate it again. But
Hmm.
um, I am involved actually in. I'm involved in this new social media, which it's a social media just for women. That's
Oh.
it's a Silicon Valley company. It's a for profit, and I think it's going to do really well. And there you interview experts women on whatever their topic is. So for me,
Mhm.
they actually want me to speak on the connection with animals and the unexpected benefits of the
Mhm.
connection with animal, blah 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 blah. So
Yeah.
but it's not scientific at all.
Hmm.
So shall I just not mention this stuff or just be general and say, I may be involved with new business pursuits, with an online community, with animal issues in our lives. I mean, the process
Hmm.
of co-authoring a book that extends out from the dissertation, sort of be vague.
Yeah, I think that'd be good.
That sounds good. Is there anything
Good
else
approach. Yeah.
you would say?
Um, yeah, I think those are good points to bring up. Um, Nothing jumps to mind in terms of other things to add, but I think that's a good way to kind of close the proposal and talk about what you're going to be doing in the future.
Hmm. Okay. And by the way, once I pass the defense, then automatically the research is published on the um, on the databases. Is that what happens?
Um, for a dissertation, it's a little complicated. I mean, I think uh, it usually takes some time. Like once you submit all of the paperwork, all the printed copies to your university, um, it probably takes some time before it's actually available. Um, I'm not sure if it'll be available online. That might depend on your particular university.
Hmm.
But like with my dissertation, I know there's a few copies in the whole country in libraries. They don't really print a lot of copies of dissertations usually. And like for mine, I don't think it's available online. I think you can request it from a library and get a hard copy. Um, so I think it's a kind of a process. It'd probably take maybe a few months or something.
Is it okay to ask such a question at the end?
Oh, sure, yeah, that's a normal question. I mean, um, and a lot of students would want to know, also. So yeah, I think that'd be fine.
Hmm. Okay. And if they ask me, actually, yeah, how was my own experience? Or is it okay if I say actually that, which is true, originally one of the first professors I had, um, she knew what I do for a living, and she wanted me to do the whole dissertation on money and happiness. And I didn't
Uh-huh.
want to do that because that's what I deal with all day long with
Yeah.
CEOs and entrepreneurs. It's all about that. So I didn't want to do a dissertation on it too, on top of it.
Right.
So I wanted to choose
Yeah.
a fun topic that I'm passionate about.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
so we thought about it, and she actually flanked me from the course, and I had to retake it.
Really.
So
Well,
yeah. And then in the end, it took me 6 years to finish this whole PhD. But
yeah.
is it too negative to bring up, or don't bring up, or
Yeah, I think it'd probably be better to not bring that up just because it's kind of
negative?
yeah.
Okay, all right. So and then So it's North Central University. Have you heard any, between me and you, have you heard any bad things about the university?
Um, no, it's I'm not very familiar with it, but I haven't heard anything, negative about it.
Okay. So is it okay if I ask them questions about the future of North Central University? I heard it's moving to California or something like that,
Oh,
or if they're going to continue working at NCU as chairs and committee members. Is it okay to ask? Maybe if they ask me to ask them questions, I will. It's better than them asking me questions.
right. Um, for that, I mean, personally, I might wait until after the defense is over
Yeah.
to bring something like that up,
Hmm.
just to be safe.
Okay, good point.
Hmm.
Are you a professor? Are you a professor? Hello? What happened? Dr. Kremelberg? Hello? 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 Hello?
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now I
Okay,
can.
just
Okay.
lost the connection for a
Okay.
second.
So, are you a professor? Do you do defenses?
No, I mean, as a grad student, I did a lot of teaching at a couple
Mhm.
of universities. But after finishing, I kind of stopped that. So I'm not a, I mean, I just do consulting work full time
Mhm.
now.
Okay.
So,
All right. So, I think it's they made me sign something that says that I'm gonna be alone during the defense. If
oh, right.
if I have my editor not on video, obviously, because I'm supposed to be alone, but like somewhere around
Yeah.
here, somewhere in my home,
Okay.
behind this, not behind the screen, in front of the screen, just as
Right.
support. Do you think is okay or not okay?
Yeah, I mean, I would just, make sure you're careful that, it doesn't become obvious that someone else is there. But I mean, other than that, I think, as long as you're careful about that stuff, I wouldn't worry about it.
Hmm. All right, good. Anything else? Any other advice you can give me at this point? Do you think I'll just pass, no problem?
Yeah, I mean, especially usually professors won't let someone schedule a defense unless everything is, pretty solid. So, um, I mean, you did a lot of work putting all the questions together, which I think is really good. And so, I would expect some questions and some criticisms in the defense, and that's not really a bad sign. That's just normal for a defense
Mm-hmm.
that they'll, question things and question the methodology and things like that. So, but I think you'll be prepared for that with all the work you've done in preparation. And what I did for my defenses, kind of similar to what you're doing. I also, for my thesis and dissertation, I read through the entire document several times before the defense, like a week before the defense.
What do you mean by document? The manuscript?
Right. Yeah. So like the entire thesis or dissertation. So
160 pages of it or so.
yeah. Um, and so I read through the whole, my whole dissertation several times. So had a really strong working knowledge of everything.
Hmm.
Um, so it's boring, but it's a good. I think it's a good technique to use.
Mm,
Um,
okay.
So, if they ask certain questions about certain things that you wrote, or, they ask a question about a certain table or something, you'll, you won't be kind of like fumbling trying to remember exactly what,
Hmm.
you know, was there. So,
Good point. Good point.
yeah.
Okay, I'll do that. Okay, very good.
Yeah,
So
sure.
I think I'm in a good shape. I'll review everything we talked about. This was helpful. I have the recording. And
Sure.
if I don't anticipate it happening, but if it does, and I need like some quick response, can I send you an email? And may I ask you if you
Sure.
can, if I need to pay you, that's no problem. But can I ask you to turn it around fast if it happens this week, knowing that my dissertation is on Friday, in a week from today at 5 p.m. Eastern.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, that's no problem. And of course, the sooner you'd be able to get that to me, the better.
Yes.
Just to make sure, if it might take me um, a day or something. Uh, but yeah, it's no problem.
Sure. And the fastest way, I know I upset you a couple of times because I was hitting you with multiple methods of
Sure.
communication. The fastest way is email or cell phone or call.
Yeah, email is best, but I would say, if something comes up and it's urgent, if you want to send me an email and then also call me and leave me a voicemail,
Okay.
um, and then you just, I'll see it more quickly and can get back to you on that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. Perfect. Well,
Mm.
thank you so much, Dr.
Sure.
Kramerberg. I could not
Yeah,
have done it
definitely.
without you, so I'm very glad
Oh,
you helped me.
great. Sounds good. Yeah,
Okay.
thanks.
Great. Take care. Thank you, doctor.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.